Open the valves. It doesn't matter in which order.
The hookweed work?
If it hadn't, the pain would have sent him into shock, killed him.
So, everything's going smoothly?
No, but it's within known norms.
Administer the next potion.
I'd hoped I would never have to watch this again.
Why'd you keep the table then?
Geralt, next potion. OECK Finn.
Welcome back to another Witcher lore video. Today's video, as you can tell by the title, is going to be on the Trial of the Grasses, or more specifically, the Witcher trials as a whole. And not a lot of you will actually know that the Trial of the Grasses is not the only Witcher trial there is. So in today's video, I'm going to go over all of them, and of course I will go over the Trial of Grasses. So to begin with, the Witcher trials are the process in which male humans are turned into witchers. And when I say turned into witchers, I literally mean that, because as you'll know from the games, witchers are an entirely different species to, say, humans. So they're not just changed into witches physically, but also mentally, as there's a lot of mental challenges throughout the trials, as you'll find out in this video. So the first trial is known as the Choice. This trial is used to teach the initiates the Witcher way of life. So this trial involves dietary changes, learning how to use a sword, monster lore, herbalism, and if you want to know what the herbalism is, that's basically how the witchers learn how to create their potions and how to gather their ingredients. I imagine throughout this process they probably learn how to create blade oils too, and also some intense physical training. So the second trial, and arguably the most famous trial, is known as the Trial of the Grasses. So this trial is a trial in which the chosen subject is strapped to a table known as Sad Albert, and is required to consume a variety of alchemical ingredients, known as the grasses. So this process also gives the subject the signature Witcher eyes, lightning fast reflexes, immunity to disease, superhuman healing, and I've drawn that kind of conclusion by myself, and I'm assuming that a lot of you all know what I mean by that, but in the Witcher books, after the Thanid coup and Triss takes Geralt to Brokilon, and he was in a very, very bad state. For a human, he probably would have been dead, and as a Witcher, he was almost dead. But after Milva arrived, and she saw him and saw how bad he was, she came back a couple days later, and Milva remarks about how resilient Witchers are and how much they're able to heal. I mean, obviously he had help from the waters of Brokilon and many other things, but it was his Witcher healing that also helped him move along much faster. Also, the ability to consume large amounts of toxic potions, which are known to normally kill humans in only one consumption. So a lot of you may wonder, if a Witcher sees a human dying, why doesn't he just give him some swallow, you know, why doesn't he just give the human something potion that could help him? And it's because these potions are incredibly toxic to a normal human. We know that witches have a great immune system, as they are literally immune to disease, but these potions, after consuming maybe 6 or 7 of them, can actually kill a Witcher and can cause them to be poisoned. I mean, that's how strong they are. So that's all there is about this trial in the books, but the games actually expand upon it much more. So this second part of talking about the Trial of the Grasses is gonna be on what the games introduced to the whole Trial of Grasses. So in The Witcher 3, when the player brings Uma to Kaer Morhen, the sorceress Yennefer determines that the only way to restore Uma's previous appearance is to subject him to the Trial of Grasses, or at least the first part of that trial. So this event actually gives us greater knowledge of how this trial worked, as Yennefer states that the first part of this trial opens up the body to change. So as you'll know, Uma was actually Avalark, but he'd been cursed, he'd been changed, his body had been changed to that weird little sort of Uma baby thing, and the only way to change him back was to basically destroy that body and then kind of remold it into Avalark, which is kind of what happened, and reverse the curse. So that's what the Trial of the Grasses, the first part of it at least, does. So she explains how she would actually use spells on Uma, whereas witches would have been exposed to the various mutations. So this not only tells us that after their body has been completely broken down, they are effectively rebuilt as a witcher. You can imagine that after the first part of the Trial of Grasses, the humans would then be rebuilt as a Witcher. So imagine having your humanity torn apart and then rebuilt as something else. That's what the Trial of Grasses was. So the sorceress also tells us, the player, or I suppose you could say tells Geralt, how to make something known as the decoction of grasses, which is assumedly what witches used on their initiates to start the trial. So in total there are actually 3 decoctions, known as Mother's Tears, Wild Rye Juice, and Speargrass Sap. So as you see, these are all injected into Uma's body and then they start the trial. And they're actually used probably on witches as well, at least in the past. So the ingredients for these 3 decoctions include 1 forktail spinal fluid, 1 manticore poison gland, 1 albino bruxatongue, 1 bryonia, 1 rib leaf, and 1 mandrake root. So whilst researching online, I actually found that there were 2 other trials, because originally this video was going to be about the Trial of Grasses, but I discovered there were 2 other trials, but I'm going to be completely honest, I'm not entirely sure if they are entirely lore friendly. They could have just been something that a Witcher fan made up, but I'm going to tell you about them just so you know all the information if these are in fact true trials. So as I say, take these next 2 trials with a grain of salt. So the third trial is known as the Trial of Dreams, and this was the trial that supposedly involved further mutations to the eyes. So these further mutations allowed for better night vision amongst other benefits, and this trial also mutated the subject's bone marrow and hormones. So supposedly this is the trial that actually resulted in the witch's infertility. As you can imagine, this is arguably the trial where they went from being humans to witches. So the final trial is known as the Trial of the Mountains, and this is a trial in which a subject is tested to be sound of mind. So it's more of a Witcher exam than anything else. It was actually used primarily as a way to test if young candidates could remember anything prior to the Trial of Grasses, because as I stated earlier, they learned all about monsters, they learned how to do swordsmanship, they learned so many different skills that need to be known for a Witcher, and it's to test if they are sound of mind, if they haven't gone crazy, because as we know, these trials can, even if the children survive, they can go crazy. So apparently that's actually what happened with School the Cat Witches. They were just insane School the Wolf Witches that decided to form their own school that eventually became assassins. So the Trial of the Grasses was lost. It is still around arguably in The Witcher 3, but only the first part. Nobody knows what the mutations were used on the witches, nobody knows how they were given their strength, their eyes, their everything else about their bodies, and honestly, none of the currently alive witches, at least from the School of the Wolf, want to bring back the Trial of Grasses, and don't want to make new witches, as they know how horrible it was for them to be made. I mean, arguably, witches aren't really needed anymore in the modern Witcher world. There aren't many monsters left, humans have their own ways of dealing with them, witches are, as they say, relics of the past. But those 4 trials are the 4 trials that turn a human into a Witcher. In many cases, these trials would actually result in the deaths of the young initiates. For example, only 3 in 10 boys survived the Trial of Grasses, but those who did survive rose as the superior monster killers that we know as witches today. So one thing that I want to say actually to you all is that a lot of people have asked me this question, I've had the question myself, and it's why is that thing, you know, the kind of contraption that's used to keep the Witcher boys still, I suppose, during the Trial of Grasses, called Sad Albert? And there's no information anywhere about this online, but we can come up with a theory that I think is probably the best theory we have, in which probably somebody named Albert was in the machine getting changed into a Witcher. It's probably called something else before Sad Albert, and they had a particular messy Trial of Grasses, possibly. Maybe they had a lot of pain, maybe their trial went wrong, maybe something happened, hence why it's Sad Albert. But that's just a theory that I've come up with and that a lot of other people have come up with, so, you know, that's not the reason why. We don't actually know why. I have 2 more things I want to say before I end this video, but to start with, I would like to tell you all of a Witcher who was so resilient to the normal Witcher trials that he was actually exposed to some more, let's just say, experimental trials. So these experimental trials not only enhanced his superhuman abilities, but also rendered his hair completely white. This Witcher was of course Geralt of Rivia. There were actually many other Witchers that were subjected to more trials such as Geralt, but they all died. Geralt was the only one that survived. So I'll probably do a theory video at a later date of what exactly is different about Geralt compared to say Eskel or Lambert, because it's thought that Eskel was actually a better swordsman than Geralt to begin with, but due to Geralt's later mutations he just became a better swordsman due to having better reflexes. So finally, to end today's video, I'll read both an extraction from the first, not counting the short stories, Witcher book, and this is the book known as Blood of Elves, and this is about the trial, this extraction, and I'll also read an extraction from the book known as The World of the Witcher, and this is also about the Trial of Grasses, or the Witch Trials. So to begin with, the extraction from Blood of Elves. On the 3rd day, all the children died, save one, a male, barely 10. Hitherto, agitated by a sudden madness, he fell at once into a deep stupor. His eyes took on a glassy gaze. Incessantly with his hands did he clutch at clothing, or brandish them in the air as if desirous of catching a quill. His breathing grew loud and hoarse. Sweat, cold, clammy, and malodorous, appeared on his skin. Then he was once more given elixir through the vein, and the seizure, it did return. This time a nosebleed did ensue. Coughing turned to vomiting, after which the male weakened entirely and became inert. For 2 more days did the symptoms not subside. The child's skin, hitherto drenched in sweat, grew dry and hot. The pulse ceased to be full and firm, albeit remaining of average strength, slow rather than fast. No more did he wake, nor did he scream. Finally came the 7th day. The male awoke and opened his eyes, and his eyes were those of a viper. So that was the extraction from Blood of Elves. I'm now going to read the extraction from the world of The Witcher, so enjoy. The procedure lasted several days. Over that time, we were given magical mutagenic potions that completely altered our metabolism. Then we awaited the effects, which usually were unrelentingly awful. Non-stop fevers, vomiting, hemorrhages, yes. Not all the rumours about the Witcher Order are mistaken, and at this point the cull was indeed very severe. The vast majority of those undergoing the trial did not live past this phase. The few who did moved on to the next part, the changes. At this stage we were given further infusions and potions, infected with filth of some kind, and again came fever, sweat, delusions, shit, and vomit beyond reason. Supposedly the process was enhanced from time to time, as a test of new elixirs and mutagens. Typically this meant even more pain, vomit, or worse. For those chosen for these special trials, Geralt emerged from these experiments with a lifetime of foul memories, and the loss of pigment in his hair. The other members of that particular test group were not so lucky, not one of them survived. So that's the end of today's video. It was meant to be a short video, but it's looking like it's going to actually be quite a long video, well, at least compared to some of my videos, so I hope you've all enjoyed. Tomorrow's video is probably going to be my 10,000 subscriber special. I've still got to plan exactly what I'm going to do for that. I've got an idea, as I've got a new idea of a new lore series I'd like to introduce. I'd like to see what you guys think of that, but you'll have to stay tuned for tomorrow's video to find out that, so be sure to subscribe if you're new. I hope everybody's enjoyed today's video. Be sure to drop a like if you did enjoy the video, as if you like it, it lets me know that you actually enjoy this sort of videos and it'll make me keep doing them, so thank you so much. If you leave some sort of comment saying what you liked about the video or saying what you didn't like about the video, that'd be nice, so thank you. And as always, be sure to follow my Twitter as I post updates on there regularly. Be sure to join the Discord, as we have fellow like-minded witchers on there and we post loads of cool stuff. My videos come on there as well, so be sure to join the Discord. And also be sure to follow my Twitch. I plan to stream more games on there. I actually got raided by a stream the other day and I had like 200 viewers, which was insane. I was like the second most Gwent viewed guy on Twitch. It was really weird, but you'll have to have joined the streams to see when stuff like that might happen. And also a big thank you to the Patreon pledges. You guys are honestly amazing. I don't know how else to say it. You guys, just the fact that you donate, you have helped make these videos better than I ever could. You've helped me so much and you've given me more inspiration to continue with this. So thank you all so much, and I hope everybody that is a Patreon pledger just has an awesome life. And if you want to donate to the Patreon and get the rank of Grandmaster on the Discord, get to find out what videos are a day early, and get access to the full thumbnails in HD, just go to the link in the description. You can donate even only $1, which I think in pounds is like 75p or something. So it'd be awesome if you could do that. You also get your name at the end of every single video, be it a Witcher part, a lore video, or any other lore video. So anyway guys, I'll see you all later. Have an awesome week.